We're going to cut that part out. All right, guys, we have the king of controversy on the show today. This is gonna be awesome. So, kind of a follow-up, guys. If you watched last week's episode with Trey Hill, Matt, we had a very interesting conversation with Trey about what makes for really good content, and basically, different strokes, different folks, different methods, different styles apply to different people. But our guest today had a very interesting take. Preston, glad to have you on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, definitely. So, Matt, how's everything looking in your world this week, by the way?
Oh man, just been busy, inspections, training a new guy. Things are insane. Yeah, I'm just glad to be here with the man, the myth, the legend. Well, I get not really a myth. I mean,
yeah, I don't think there's any legend either, but he's a man.
He is a man indeed.
Glad to have you here, Preston, man.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Matt. I haven't seen you since the Nachi conference in Florida, so good to see you again, man.
Yes, sir. Likewise.
Yeah, we all had a little bit to drink there down at the Nachi conference, as we're prone to do, which actually kind of leads us right into our drink of the day, because I really want to get into what we're all here to talk about, which is stuff Preston says. So, Matt, what are you sipping on, man?
Oh man, I am having I call this like a quick old fashioned. It's not really an old fashioned at all, but I'm having some Wild Turkey 101 with cherry flavored liquid death and an orange peel. And so it's like I'm hydrating and dehydrating all in one. Cheers.
Nice. Nice.
Preston, how about you, man? What you sipping on?
All right, I brought the birch beer, but it's the unleaded birch beer with the high sugar content. So that's what I'm drinking today.
Fantastic. And I am, we were kind of shooting from the hip a little bit with this episode because, I mean, you know how it is. Like when we're home inspectors, schedules don't always align. So when you get your buddies that are able to all sit down and podcast at the same time, we're like, dude, let's get on the air right now, right? So yeah. I just grabbed something off the back shelf here, sipping on good old Travelers. We talked about this in a previous episode, which is always a good plug. Go back and watch if you haven't. Man, long day, long work day. Spring season's going pretty good for you guys. But Preston, it sounds like things have been a little interesting up in your neck of the woods lately. In a conversation that we were having on the phone.
Yeah, man, when are they not interesting? So, yeah, I didn't realize that I had kind of become the king of controversy.
But in the best way, man.
It was sort of unintended, I guess, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on locally and nationally, and it's I won't lie, this month it's been interesting.
No, that's cool, man. It kind of from what you were telling me before, and if you can talk about as much or as little as you want. But when we were kind of comparing different styles, I kind of feel like you're the voice of reason, right? Other people are educational, informative. Some are the happy, fun guy. Matt has kind of that good, positive energy. And I feel like you've crossed that line. I don't know if it happened somewhere past 45, where you're just like, I no longer give any bleeps.
I'm 46.
Yeah, get off my lawn.
Yeah. You're fine with telling it like it is now.
It's funny because I didn't realize that I was struggling with being muzzled as much as I am. And so my whole life, I've been very unfiltered. I've been very outspoken from the very beginning. I have pretty much just said it like it is. And it's really sad in a way, because I think that we should be more free to share our opinions, even if we disagree with each other. Right. Like, I feel 100%. Like mature adults and whatever else we should. But the problem is when you say stuff that other people disagree with, there's a lot of people in this world that think you instantly have to be enemies.
Right.
Oh, Preston said something I disagree with. Oh, he said, use a drone on a roof. Oh, he's my enemy now. And it's a very strange dynamic to go, man, 5 years in, there's like this growing mass of people that are just like, and I'm still just over here sharing ideas, sharing opinions, whatever. And so here I am. I've kind of arrived at, I guess I'm the king of controversy.
Well, you know what that reminds me of is like because people just have this ability that they never had before to just start typing and saying whatever they want, which most of which they would never really say in person. But
Right.
somebody described it to me one time, like this day and age is like, okay, so like before, like if you went to a store and you did not like that store, you left the store and you just didn't go back to that store because they didn't have anything that they could offer you or anything. They didn't have
Right.
anything that appealed to you. Now, like the equivalent of what's going on now, like online, would be like somebody going into that store and you don't like it. So instead of just leaving and going to another store, you just stand out there on the curb going, "This store sucks. Don't go to this store. They don't have anything good in this store." When there's a ton of people that might have their own opinion about what's inside that store.
That's an interesting take. My son and I were just talking about that. We were talking about the analog equivalent to the online space, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's not just on the controversy side. It's like you can't even go to a website anymore without like 8 pop-ups. And I told my son, I go, you would never walk into a store and have like 8 people jumping out with giant signs, stopping you from coming in to spend money. But you're right. Like it's not just that. It's like standing outside telling people the store sucks and then graffitiing on the wall permanently, the store sucks, right?
Yeah, definitely a weird world we live in when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I mean, I guess it is what it is. Good, bad press is good press. Any type of attention, I guess.
Yeah, the one thing that I think I have little luxury that I've got is I'm somewhat of a short timer. So I'm going to be retiring within the next year or two.
Meantime, I mean,
Is that a retirement announcement, or does anybody know this? You just announce your retirement?
Well, sort of. Now, when I say retirement, that means, I got a lot of irons in the fire. I got other businesses, I got other things going. Brad knows about some of it. We got a reality show kind of in the cooking, distilling on the back burner right now.
You're still going to be grumpy online for sure. I mean, there's no way
Yeah.
you're not
Please,
retiring. You're not hanging the
please
hat on
always
that.
be the grumpy old
yeah,
man.
yeah. But here's the thing is like, you can only call out so many contractors before you get your ass sued. And so I really need to get backed up by a network with network lawyers before we go down that path. But you know, being kind of a short timer in the inspection space, my son is now taken over. Like he's he got licensed and certified. And so I'm in the transition period right now of weaning myself out of this business over the next year or two.
Good luck.
So he's
Harder than
taking
you
it
think.
over. How old's your son, by the way?
I think he's the youngest licensed home inspector in the country. He shadowed me for 2 years from the age of 16, and he graduated high school at 17. He had to wait to take the NHIE and get licensed because you have to be 18. He turned 18 in December, got licensed in January.
Wow.
I'm just warning you right now. Even though he's taken over the business, his stuff will still stay in your garage long after he's moved out.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We're actually building him a house right now, so he and I are teaming up on it.
That's
So
cool, man.
yeah,
That's cool. But no, so I mean, you kind of hit on something, which is really the whole reason that we wanted to talk here. You had a video for those of you guys that don't follow Preston. Make sure you go check him out at Inspector Preston everywhere. But you were kind of talking. It was a little bit of a coaching video about what makes for good viral video, and what people pay attention to, what gets views. And part of that was a suggestion that every view kind of needs to have a villain of some sort, right? It needs to tell that kind of a captivating story. And so that was something that we were commenting on last week's episode. But there's a little bit, in my mind, there's a little bit of risk and reward there, right? I mean, you were joking about the corporate lawyers and stuff, but at the same time, when you do have a villain, the villain might sometimes bite back. Now, is
yeah,
that
man.
like,
I got 2 cease and desist letters in the last week and a half from 2 different lawyers.
oh my gosh.
Like that's a thing. You gotta fight with lawyers, and it's people are online. It's funny because I do lives and they're like, oh, where's the JKS video? Where's the the next video in the contractor series? And I'm like, I got to work through some legal stuff first. It's a thing. You put content out, and we're in the midst of cancel culture.
It's
I got
true.
I
Where
got a
does
question. Oh, go ahead, Brad.
No, no, I was just gonna say, pivoting off of that, like, so where in your mind does the risk reward factor lie? And at what point do you kind of go, maybe I don't want to push it too far, or maybe it is worth it because this is a story worth telling?
So here's the interesting thing is like I accidentally got into everything that I'm doing on social media. None of this was intentional. I'll tell you my very first contractor video, I sort of like fell in it, right? I got a call from a financial advisor and he said, "Hey, I need to hire you to go do an inspection for this elderly lady." I'm like, "Great. Yeah, no problem. Pay me 500-600 bucks. I'll go inspect this thing." But then I'm getting the backstory to it. Well, there's some contractors that went there and ripped off half of her roof. And, the whole thing started at $7,000 and they're up to $88,000 now. And her driveway's ripped up. And I'm like, and I arrived there and like literally everything's in perfect condition and none of the work they're telling her needs to be done. And I fall face first into this whole contractor thing where 2 videos later, I got contractors here at my house threatening my family, right? So there's this weird evolution of how you kind of, once you put it out, it takes on a life of its own. And then if it goes viral, that adds a whole nother, it's just like constantly breathing life into the story, right? So then you have to do another one and then you're into it. How many videos did I do on that first one, man? I think I was like 8 or 9 videos.
Yeah, it was quite a series. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like how much okay, we talk about having a villain and we talk about like your perspective on a lot of things. Like how much of that do you think is driven by the fact that like what you inspect, the type of homes you inspect? Like you are doing some different stuff than like what we're doing down here in Texas. Most of the people I know, as a matter of fact, a lot of the stuff you're inspecting is completely different than what anybody on the internet is showing.
Yeah. I didn't realize how unique um, this area was. When I first started inspecting here, I mean, these are old houses.
Right.
About probably 80% of the inspections I do are homes that are at least 100 years old. And if I factor in the homes, like it really is right around the 90th percentile. Almost everything that I inspect is like 100 to 200 years old. And every once in a while, I get a 300-year-old house, like Revolutionary War era stuff. And to me, it's normal because I live here, right? But you start looking online and you realize, so when I do my retreat every year, there's inspectors that come just for the field trip because we do a field trip to an antique or vintage home. And you see stuff that you just would never see anywhere else, right? And, I saw your video and I saw Trey talking about how my videos were long, right? So again, that was accidental. I don't know if you guys remember Yuri Badovich, but Yuri, super smart guy, amazing inspector. Love the guy, super, just nothing but mad love for him. He had a channel called Inspection Therapy. And he's telling me, he's like, dude, you got to target him for like 60 seconds or less. And I'm coming out with like 8-minute videos on TikTok. So, and then, but my videos were doing numbers. Like I would get, when I started off, like I'd hit them and get like, sometimes 500,000, 1,000,000 views. And he's over there with his 60-second videos, sometimes only doing like 10,000 views.
Right.
But he was hitting big. Like he was actually doing bigger numbers than me. And so I started trying that. I started doing some shorter content. I could just never get any traction. It was almost like the algorithm pigeonholed me into the longer, more educational content. And every time I tried to veer out of that lane, it would just smack me right back into my little pigeonhole.
It could be that, or it could really be because I mean, there's a much different like style to creating that kind of content. Like what you're doing can't really be done in short form, and that
Right.
and like you're not really because I don't want to say like entertaining isn't the word. Like Trey was talking about being entertaining. That's not really what I'm looking for. Like there's not really much in the way of theatrics to what you're doing. Like there's no doubt like I use that kind of stuff in a lot of my videos, just I mean not just being silly or some type of hook or something like that. Like you're pretty much just telling things the way it is. And I think there's a certain realness to it, right? That I think that's probably what is attracting people. But at the same time, like it's hard to keep it real and talk for 60 seconds,
Yeah, I agree, man. So there was kind of a little byproduct that happened that I have grown to really appreciate. Right? Seriously, when I look at my following, I don't treat my following or my base like an asset. I treat them like human beings because I really do genuinely appreciate everybody there. And if you go through my comments, what I get constantly every day is people going, I learned so much from you. I learned from your videos. Your videos helped me buy a home. And like, it gives my social media purpose. And I don't know if I would have lasted. I'm 2.5 years in. I don't know if I'd have lasted this long if I was doing 60-second videos that were just novelty, right? I would have got bored after, a year.
I mean, I don't know that they're novelty. I definitely try to be educational. I just think that there is a 100% different approach when you're talking about telling this type of story you're telling than to make short videos. Like, okay, I uh when Reels first started, they were 30 seconds. And that is real short, right? And I was used to, I think at the time, it might have been like 3 minutes or a minute. There's a time limit of video that you could put out like on Instagram.
Right.
But Reels came out and it was 30 seconds. You had 30 seconds.
Right.
And that was the only, I think you had 15 or 30 seconds, right? And until they increased that, that's what you had. And that was like the hot ticket. If you were going to do well, then you were need to be making reels. You need to figure out how to make a video that was 30 seconds that was entertaining, right? And educational or whatever position you were taking on it. And like it was a challenge, like for me right then to
Yeah.
figure out how to cut everything down and condense it. And what I realized was what I was doing before was I was making videos of things I'd find in home inspections. I'd be like, look, there's this thing, and then there's this thing, and then there's this thing, and there's this thing. What I ended up having to do is be like, here's this thing. And then the next thing is in another video. You know what I mean?
Right.
Get out of my
It was here's the really funny thing that I struggled with is if you notice, I'm not big on any other platform than TikTok, right?
right.
So I couldn't figure out Instagram. I just couldn't figure it out because no matter what I did, obviously I'm doing longer content. And when I first started on Instagram, it would just chop everything off at like 60 seconds.
Yeah.
So like it just didn't work for me. And like the content was garbage because I couldn't really figure out how to
Yeah.
post on Instagram.
Yeah, you never got the punchline.
Right. And then TikTok was a weird bag because when I got on TikTok 2.5 years ago, it was all 30-second clips. Like it was all dancing and lip syncing. And here I come along with my 6-minute videos. And everybody was, even AJ was like, dude, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just doing my thing, like I'm going to do my thing. And if it doesn't fly, it doesn't fly. But then what happened was it like I got traction, the algorithm picked it up, ran with it. You get 1 million views on a video and you're like, oh, cool. Right. I could do my thing and it's going to actually run. And then you go, okay, maybe YouTube is really where my home is because I do long form content. The problem is I post over on YouTube and all my videos are in portrait mode. Right. So everybody on YouTube's complaining that my format isn't landscape. I can't get on Instagram. So TikTok just sort of became my bag. Like it was like, this is my groove right here.
I will tell you, like YouTube people seem to care less these days about the portrait style video being there because most of the time they seem to be watching from their phone and it ceases to matter. So I have found that less people complain about that because I still move some stuff that I have in that style over to YouTube. So I think that it's not as big of a deal as it used to be if it's something you want to venture. But I totally get what you're saying, and you have to make content that fits the platform in order to do well on it, right? But the fact of the matter is, and this goes back to what we were talking about with Trey, right? Because it's all about authenticity. You're just being you, period, and that's it. And you were you until it actually worked, and people were like, okay, yeah, I like this because they can pick up on the authenticity. And I think ultimately that's why it worked and why you were able to gain traction. It's because you weren't trying to do something different and not be yourself.
I got to give Trey a lot of props, man. Trey, he encouraged me a lot early on. He even called me last year. I was driving back from Arizona. He called me on the phone and he was like, hey, I just want to give you some encouragement and I want to encourage you to look at the other platforms. And like, he's really been kind of an inspiration to me. And I was one of his biggest fans before I was even posting. So I just really admire Trey. The one thing that I will say Trey does better than I think just about anybody is that guy is consistent as hell.
It really is.
He is like the tide going in and the tide going out. That guy just consistently posts, nice dovetailed content.
I mean,
And it works for him. His style works for him.
His first video I see in the morning and the last one before I go to bed, man.
Right.
You're right. He puts out a couple a day, like every single day. He is really consistent.
Now, do you engage with your audience, Preston? I mean, because we were talking about this with Trey last week. He's definitely more of a post and ghost style. Are you more engaging? Because that's something else you said in that video you posted, is that post and ghost doesn't necessarily work, but for Trey it does.
So here's the thing. There's some people that are grandfathered, right? So you think about AJ and you think about Trey and some of these guys that were earlier on social media. And these guys can now, they have a following, they have a base, so these guys can get away with things that new people can't really, right? So I think if I was just going to post in ghost right now and I was just starting out, it would be a much bigger climb, right? It would take me longer because you're not really connecting with your base and you're not growing it and really kind of creating stickiness. And what happens is, it's weird. I have when I go into my followers, I recognize their icons. I know who they are. And then I go into my messages. We have conversations. Some of these people, I know their families. Like, it's weird how that they're not just followers. They're like, there's actually a connection there. And again, I would probably be very bored with social media if that wasn't there.
Man,
So,
isn't that crazy though? Like, I mean, like, because I literally have friends all across the nation that
yeah,
I've only had these, communications with, like, online. And I mean, like you said, like, I know their icon. If they change their picture, I'm never gonna know who they are. So
right,
I mean, you can't
right.
do that, right?
Yeah,
I mean, like, I struggled whenever I changed my profile picture a couple of years ago because I thought, man, there are, because I don't pay attention to everybody's name, but I know their picture, and there's people that I used to have communications with that I don't see anymore. I don't know if they've changed their picture, if they bailed from Instagram, or if they died. I don't know, but it is wild how many people I communicate with on a regular basis. And I mean, like, I feel like I've made a lot of friends, not just, like you guys. So we get to hang out a little bit in person sometimes and
right.
stuff like that. But there's actual people that I'll probably never meet, but I have, semi regular conversation with, meaningful conversation. These are great people, people that I kind of consider friends. Just I've never met them in person. It's
Same.
a wild
Yeah.
thing, man. It's real cool.
Yeah, I've got a couple people on my TikTok following that I literally know right now that their cars broke down. They just moved to a farm. They're struggling with their landlord. Like, it's weird that so to me, that actually matters. Like, I actually enjoy that part of it, is connecting with people. I don't really see a point. And this is another thing. Like, I don't really see a point in having a follower base if you're not going to actually do something to try to help them. Like, it's not just there to monetize or like benefit me, right? And that's something I talked about in my video, right? When I did that webinar, I talked about what I called content narcissism. So in a way, I think a lot of times people create content that serves them, not it doesn't serve their viewers,
Yeah.
right? Here's the content I want to put out, and they're not stopping to think about, what do my viewers want to see? And it's a different vantage point for content.
Does that kind of go against the whole idea of just being yourself, though? Or is it be yourself within the confines of what people seem to respond to?
Yeah, no, I'm not pretending to be anybody else. I'm definitely being authentic and being myself. But I realize that what my followers tend to want is educational stuff that'll help them. They're not just there to watch novelty stuff, right? And this gets into that thing I was telling you about, like the villain, the catchy hook, the tell a story, right? I'll give you an example. This In the first year of posting content, I started analyzing the videos that were doing well, right? You get 1 million views, you get 2 million views, and you go and you look, okay, what was different about that video? And what are the common threads throughout those videos? And I started realizing that I'll give you an example. I had a video that did really well. I think it did 2.7 million views, where I said, hey guys, the sellers are looking for me right now. I'm over here hiding behind a bush. I'm hoping they don't find me, right? But the first thing they told me was, they're not hiding anything. Okay, so I very easily could have just done a video to say, hey, I want to show you some stuff they're trying to hide over here. But I didn't. I actually created a story first. And so when I realized that the story is the engaging part, people are engaged in the story and they want to see how it ends. And if I just said, hey guys, I want to show you a crack in a foundation today that they're trying to hide with some styrofoam, that video would have done 12 views and nobody would have cared. Right?
I think the part about like being yourself is in the delivery, not necessarily the you can choose to make a video that is, okay, so I'm telling a story or I'm just educating or I'm being funny or whatever, but the authenticity comes in the delivery. I don't think you can do different types of content and still be genuine and still be authentic.
Agree 100%. That's kind of what I was getting at. Was like, I'm not pretending to be anything different. And you guys hear me like, I'm definitely myself in my videos. I'll be like,
You can't help
that's
yourself. Yeah.
that's a big bunch of nope. And oh, I call these stairs the Widowmaker. Like this is what I say to clients when they're present. Like I do the same thing. I'm joking with them, and I'll say things to clients, be like, okay, you don't have a TPR discharge pipe, everybody's gonna die. Like I'll say that to them, and they'll start laughing because why shouldn't an inspection be fun, right?
I do that kind of stuff.
You have to
Right.
I have a
diffuse
good
that
time with my
tension there.
clients for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I love it, man. So you're authentically you in it, but it does come down to being able to tell a good story at the same time.
Yeah, so here's my secret sauce. I don't know if this is going to show up. All right. So my secret sauce is the video must appeal to a broad audience. Number one. Okay. So this is what I tell other home inspectors. You can't just do a video to go, hey guys, I want to show you this crappy window flashing. If your window flashing is bad, it's going to leak and your window is going to fall apart. Nobody cares. Like your audience is people that care about window flashing. So you just reduced your audience down to 50 people in the country, right? But if you say, man, I just got in an argument with the contractors that were here flashing all these windows and they promised me they did a great job on these things, but let me show you the shoddy work, right? Totally different video, because what I just did was told a story, created a villain, and then showed you the defect. So that, so it's number one, has to appeal to a broad audience. Number two, there has to be a catchy hook. Number three, no gaps. Once you realize that people have the attention span these days of a goldfish, like you can't have like the millennial pause at the beginning, little gaps, boring gaps. People doom scroll right now. So if you give them any moment to think this is boring, they're gone. Right. So it's got to be rapid fire. You got to just beat the synapses in their head to death. Number four, tell a story. Number five, include a villain. Now, Matt, I don't know if you noticed this, but you have a villain in your videos.
Do I?
Almost every video you do, there's a villain, and the villain is look what this builder did.
I mean, there's no doubt it's true. I guess I just don't feel like I'm villainizing them so much. I mean, I think like always, like when we're pointing out defects, like somebody did that. So there's a way to dissect that to say you have, you're giving somebody a villain. I just think it's not like I go out of my way to do that. I know.
No, I agree. And I think villains, like when you have a villain or a protagonist in the story, it can be an implied villain. It doesn't, you don't really have to say, hey, Joe, the builder was just here and what a jerk he is, right?
Yeah.
Like, but when you say, God, like, let me show you what these guys are doing these days in these new builds, and then you show, a bunch of, rafters with, that are overnotched or whatever, missing king studs, whatever, like you're creating, the villain is the person who didn't do a good job.
Sure.
Right.
I can't disagree with that.
And if you really think about it, we're kind of an angry nation now. It's like everybody's mad about something, and we're all looking to lash out at somebody for doing something bad. Like it's just kind of how it is. It's all like hair trigger these days. So give them a villain, and people get engaged in the story.
The interesting thing is there where that tends to kind of rub up against the fact that the majority, and this is something we were talking about with Trey before, the majority of the inspection community, especially with the younger generation of inspectors, we're all so freaking friendly and they're all so helpful. And there really is a good community of good people here, right? So there's a big lack of villains around this place. And so I do kind of wonder, and especially because that community continuing online with the social media followers, you guys have so many good friends that you've made through those communities. Do people tend to bond around the person that's presenting, you Matt, you Preston, or do they tend to coalesce around the drama or that villain or that need to go after somebody, or do they just which one is it, or is it a mix of both?
So what I think it's a mix of all those things, and what I do think is that people are looking for heroism and defense, right? Like there's a lot of bullies in the world. There's a lot of people taking advantage of people. The working class has really never been under more attack than they are now, right? So everybody's struggling and everybody's looking for someone to help them. And yet in the world, there's very little help going on anymore. Nobody's really helping each other. And I think that that bleeds into viewership on social media where people see other stories of people being taken advantage of, people being, you know, just crucified in certain ways. And then when somebody stands up for them, defends them, protects them, and you look at the different, you know, social media content creators that really are in some ways a hero for their clients, that I think is where the big followings tend to sort of flock to when they go, that person is saving all those people from making a terrible, from getting scammed, from whatever. And I think that's the bigger picture for a lot of these content creators on home inspection. Some of them are just focused on showing you defects, and some of them are showing you the dynamics in the world that they're trying to protect their clients from.
That honestly
Yeah,
might be. Oh, go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
I was just say I definitely agree with that. I mean, I think that there's a mix of different people out there, but I think for the most part, people do thrive on drama, and so I think if you're willing to, give them that dramatized point of view, you can even be like the information can really be the same. It's just how you present it. Um, but I mean, I think there's definitely a good cross section of my following that just like learning, and so
Yeah,
I mean, there's not everybody thrives on the drama, But I mean, so I think some people like learning, some people like just your presentation. I mean, obviously, I try to bring a lot of humor to the table with what I do, and so I mean, some people really connect with that, and
right.
I mean, I try to cover a broad audience because of that. But I definitely think like the shock value stuff really does work.
Yeah, I think your content is really, it's sort of the escape at the end of the day, right? Like you go through a very stressful day and you fight traffic to get home, you get to watch your videos and just laugh and kind of, right? So it's kind of the whole reason we watch TV sometimes is just to kind of escape reality and just watch something entertaining and fun and a nice guy showing you nice stuff and educational content. So Matt, I got nothing but respect for you, man. I love your content. I love what you do.
Likewise, brother, for
Yeah.
sure. And I
Matt
mean,
is
like, yeah.
America's.
No, go
Oh,
ahead, Brett.
no, I was saying Matt is America's funniest home videos, and Preston is Jerry Springer. No, I'm kidding. That's
I'll drink to that.
he's the midday crew.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy covering a lot of ground. I mean, I will say that my older videos, probably a few years back, and honestly, I mean, I was probably growing quite a bit more if I think more about it because I used to just be a lot angrier. I think I was a lot angrier. I think I was less of the comedy and more like kind of grumpy and angry.
I'm actually becoming increasingly grumpy. I was friendlier at the beginning. Yeah, I'm getting worse. Like what's happening right now is it's been interesting. This month I've really had to take stock because I've gotten a lot of feedback, right? From realtors, from other people that are I if I had one wish, it would be that people understood the separation between what I do for a living as an inspector and what I do online as a content creator. They're completely separate, even though I do inspection themed videos. Not always, right?
Right.
Sometimes I do videos on, milling logs and other things, right? And so what I do on social media is like completely separate from my business. But a lot of realtors and other people really kind of mash that together and they can't really separate the two. And I'll give you an example. there's an active boycott happening in my area right now of realtors because they look at my content and they think that I'm being mean spirited or something, right? Because you're calling out problems or, whatever. And, but there's other realtors that tell those realtors, like, I didn't think Preston was talking about me or my clients, right? They're able to kind of differentiate the difference between me saying, you know, this house is for sale, like it's for sale. This house right now is currently being sold to somebody else. And this wasn't disclosed. This is a big problem that was covered in foam or like whatever's happening. For me, I can't not get upset about that because I know that they're trying to conceal something and sell that problem to somebody else. And when I call that out and if they think it's mean spirited, other realtors will say, no, like, he's protecting our clients. Right. So it's weird when you get the different vantage points in that whole thing too, is like, you saw the video I had of a realtor locally where she was saying that I was bad mouthing realtors. I heard from about 6 different realtors in that office where they said, I never felt like Preston was talking about me. It's a shoe fits kind of thing.
Right.
Right. So there lies the kind of the sticky parts of doing anything that's controversial or raw, unfiltered. And so one of the things I'm going to have to learn how to do is to queue up my videos and wait a month or 2 to post them.
I do that.
That's what
I
Austin
do that.
does.
I think it's
Yeah.
a really good practice, like to keep you out of, getting, any friction, or because,
Right.
the other thing is, like, it can, if the stars aligned or whatever, it can damage somebody's sale of a property,
Right.
and I don't want to do that. I just
Yep.
want to do what I got to do. So I do wait so that I don't like get in the middle and mess up somebody's transaction or anything like that. I'm not trying to do that. But I do think that people have a real tough time differentiating the online version of what I do versus the actual hard ass work and the long,
Yep.
detailed report that I'm delivering. That's
Yeah.
what they never see. And so man, I get so many people that are like, "Oh, your job looks awesome. I want to do that. How you do that?" I'm like, "Hey, you got no idea about my job. You have no idea how hard I'm working,
Miles,
how
man.
Oh
blood I'm
man.
sweating, man."
That can't be overstated. Honestly, it's like the one thing about this job I don't think people get is that the inspection itself is only maybe a third of what you do. It's probably 30%, right? We think the inspection is the whole thing, but it isn't. You have the inspection, that's a big part of it. But then you have actually communicating all of those findings to a client in a meaningful way as a consultant. But
Right.
then you also have this written report component that is the other third, right? It's all like 33% right across that board, where people think the inspection is what we do.
They think we literally just walk through and like find items and like get mad about it and put a video out. Like that's the end of our job. And like we have like a 6 item checklist, and like they think it's just easy, right? I mean, I get it because all you see is the video, but man, there's just so much more to it that they
Yeah.
just don't see.
They don't see the 120-page
Uh-uh.
report times 3 for the inspections that day. And they don't see you sitting there until 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes, right?
But that's
Set the
what's
alarm for 5 to wake up in the morning to finish that third report
Better
before you go to
believe it.
work.
You better believe it, man.
Yep.
been there, done it. But that's honestly where content can it really does walk that fine line, right? Because you said 2 things that can either make or break you. Number one, you said hero, right? This positions home inspectors, content can position home inspectors as the hero, which we are, right? We wouldn't be in this job if it wasn't to be helpful. We
Sure.
wouldn't be working for home buyers and trying to protect them from making a bad investment if we weren't wanting to be helpful, right? So that accurately portrays what we do, Matt. That portrays those long hours, right? I feel like that
Right.
represents the true intent behind why we do get upset, or because we're concerned. We're not concerned for our sake. We're
Right.
concerned, like, why would we? It's not our house. Why would we give a flying flip unless we actually truly cared about the people that we were working with and representing?
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
have the same problems at my house.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, don't come looking at inspector's house, right?
here's something you never hear people say, right? And this is something that we all know is true. But the home inspector is the first person in the entire transaction to tell somebody the truth about the house.
Yep.
I'll drink to that.
The listing agent's job is to take beautiful pictures, to tell you how amazing the views are, to help people envision living there. And that is, I'm not faulting them for that. That is their job, right? Their job is to sell a house. And that's what they're doing to fulfill their fiduciary duty to their seller client. So they're doing everything they're supposed to do. So they're going to tell you all the wonderful things about the house. The buyer's agent. Now, there's some really good ones that know a lot, but they're not really home inspectors. So they can say, oh, this doesn't look good, but it's up to us to go in there and say, this is definitely not good, right? So all the way through it, now imagine all the people buying homes with no inspection. They're literally going into the biggest purchase of their life, and nobody has told them the truth about what they're buying.
Completely blind. Yeah. Yep.
It's crazy. Like it's so bad that you can't even believe it's a thing.
Well, my question is, where having taken stock of, kind of, I guess, from being controversial in a sense of being bluntly honest, brutally honest, um, from taking that approach and then seeing the reaction that it could have toward people and that it might misrepresent your true intentions versus other content that's done so well because you are essentially trying to be the hero in the story, helping the home buyer. Where now do you make the pivot in content going forward for yourself? I mean, do you kind of keep leaning into what was working? Do you switch it up a little bit, maybe soften it? Not that you're one to be soft in any way, but how do you pivot in a sense so that you are accurately portraying who you are in the field?
All right. Well, here's the thing that I figured out about myself in the last 2 weeks. This last 2 weeks has been very introspective and self-reflective, right?
This is therapy time on the ride
Yeah,
along. Let's go.
yeah. So the number one thing I figured out is I actually care about what I'm doing, right? Like I really care. Like I'm not just doing this for money.
That's good.
And so I put a lot of pressure on myself to always learn and be better and to do things that are uncomfortable. I'll give you an example. And Brad, you guys probably both know this. I encourage all of my clients to attend the inspection and to be a meaningful part of it and to ask a million questions through the inspection. I encourage them all to do it. Now, I will be honest, I hate it when they attend and I hate it when they ask me a million questions, right? So I do it because it's the right thing to do, not because I want to do it. Now, I can give you 100 examples of my business and things that I do that's the right thing to do, but I hate doing it, right? So I just do it anyway. It's because I care. I really, truly care about what I'm doing. And I really want to make sure that people know what they're buying. And that is also not just on the bad side. I don't just go in and alarm everybody about everything. Sometimes I have to tell people this giant crack that you see in your foundation really isn't that big a deal, right? There's times when I have to explain to them, like, this is probably being caused by that downspout outside. You know what I mean? You're like a 10-foot piece of plastic away from solving the problem. So sometimes I have to be able to explain these things to them. And I had one of those this week. I had a client, she was literally on verge backing out of her deal like 5 times. And the house was nice, right? So there was part of me is like, listen, this is a nice house. I wouldn't run away from this. Like these are all very straightforward and simple repairs. So that was the first thing I really learned about myself is that I care about what I do. Number 2, I'm emotional about it. So I tend to be kind of shoot from the hip emotional about things. So that works both on the side of I can't believe I'm seeing this to I'm pissed off that I'm seeing this. I show up to a house to inspect it and there's guys spray foaming the basement foundation while I'm there. How am I not supposed to think that's suspicious as hell?
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right? I think any inspector would think that's suspicious as hell. But there I go. I get a cease and desist letter from a lawyer, right? So everybody's mad at me for saying that was suspicious.
Now, were you able to actually figure out what was going on back behind it? Were they actually trying to cover up anything? I didn't see the follow up to it. I apologize.
No, I actually couldn't see what behind. Obviously, they spray foamed it. It's forever sealed. I did have a very nice conversation with the company owner. He assured me that they took photos and can prove that none of it was rotted or damaged when they sprayed it. I believe him. Turns out it was scheduled to be spray foamed since January, but it was just too cold. So it wasn't quite as suspicious as I thought it was right up front. But you would think that somebody would let the inspector know that, hey, you're going to be showing up to a house that's being spray foamed. I would have said, let's do it the day before. Like, let me inspect it before they cover everything up.
Yeah, sometimes okay, yeah, I get it that your story it tracks, but like there was a bad time. There's a bad timing of everything. You should have told me so that I wouldn't be blindsided, and then maybe it would be a lot less suspicious. I go to do pre-drywall inspections down here every once in a while, and sometimes when I'm there, the builder is putting up insulation. They've sent people to put insulation in the walls while I'm there, and I'll call the client and I'm angry about it, right? Because I'm like, hey, okay, I'm going to send you this report, but nothing quite says I don't care what's in the report. Like, I'm going to go ahead and throw up insulation so we can't see anything that this guy points out. Like,
Right.
while I'm there, like, come on, like, I mean, look, it's no better for you to do that right after I leave. It's certainly not better for you to do that before I show up. But how insulting is it to what I'm trying to do and to your clients who have paid me money to be there, than to just show up and have somebody cover up all the stuff that I just pointed out in a report?
Yeah, man. And that's the thing, is like, if I didn't care about that and I wasn't emotional about that for my client, I don't think I would be an effective inspector, right? I would just be some guy going through the motions, writing reports. I would just be a report mill. And I don't want to be, I would quit the business before I would do that.
Well, let's be honest too. I mean, again, everybody here has competing interests, right? Like more likely than not, excuse me, on that property, the builder is not trying to slight Matt. He just wants to get the house finished so that they can get on to the next build and the next build and get the subdivision done so that they can move to the next project site, right? Because all they're trying to do is crank out inventory. Same way that realtors, no offense to the good realtors out there, but you do have those that just want to get the deal across the line, right?
Right.
And so it's, again, we're the one that's being honest with the buyer. And, I wouldn't necessarily take it personally, Matt, but because that guy, the foreman, just wants to get done.
I
That's all
don't
it is.
take it personally, but what it does is it angers me for the client. See, that I'm angry for them. Like, I'm not mad at the builder. You can do whatever you want. You know what? You should have thrown up the insulation for our guy here, because it made my job a lot easier. But
Right.
what angers me about that is that I have to tell the client, hey, there's a good chunk of this house that I really can't see that you paid me to look at. And so it's
Yeah.
not me. Like, I don't care. It's the client. I get mad for them.
Yep.
That's who I'm fighting for. And so and it leads me to believe, if that's the path we're starting down, we're like, you knew I was coming today, and you send the insulation crew over there to put insulation up, at the tail end, or in the middle of my inspection. I'm only there for a couple of hours. You knew what time it was scheduled for. This has all been communicated. And so for them to show up while I was there, it's insulting, but they're just telling me they don't care. And my client just paid me for a report, and that their builder obviously isn't going to care or do anything about. And I'm just like, this is the look that you've got right now. You know what I mean? And it's the look I'm going to give to the buyer. I'm going to tell them, hey, this is what they did. You got a choice to make here. You can either let me do my inspection report and then get it and act like you care and then go do some things about it, or you can have the guys come and start covering up all the stuff that I just found while I'm still there. And I don't know. I get offended, but yeah, it's for the client. It's for the buyer.
Yeah. And I think that anger shows that you care about what you do and you care about your clients, which is what really drives the best inspectors, right? So I couldn't imagine being an effective inspector so there's a thing called fiduciary duty that we talk about, but people sometimes don't actually really talk about what that is. And fiduciary duty means caring about your client's best interest above all else. Above all else. Your sole job is to look out for that person, period. You're not there to make realtors happy. You're not there to make builders happy. You're not there to make attorneys happy. You are there to protect your client, period.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting because some of the higher ups who are so supportive of the show here and the production, that's not to kiss you know what. It's truly they care about home buyers than they care about inspectors, and so they care about the show. But they ask, like, so what are you guys going to do any content that's really geared toward new inspectors or considering inspectors? And I've told them, I'm like, I feel like everything we do is useful to new inspectors, because if you're thinking about getting into this field, this might be the most important 5 minutes of the show that we've produced, right? Like,
Listen,
don't,
I
yeah.
was doing that before I was doing social media, because I got the Jumpstart program,
Mhm.
right? So what I did when I first started my inspection business full time and really focused on it, I mapped out literally every step of what I did to start my business, including the stuff that didn't work, the mistakes I made. And I put it all into this video just to try to help new inspectors, to say, like, here's what I did, here's what worked, here's what didn't work, here's what I recommend, here's why. And then that sort of grew. And then it was like, it went into insurance and it went into all these other areas. And still to this day, one of the things I love the most is doing free webinars to help other home inspectors, right? I feel like if we do more of that, if we help to lift up other inspectors, and really we can rise with the tide, and we can elevate our industry. We can sit around and bitch and moan and complain about why our industry sucks and prices are going down, all this stuff. But if we're not doing anything about it, we are still part of the problem.
I 100% agree. And that
Yeah.
actually is a really good segue into a question that I wanted to ask you. Actually, I guess I got to start with another question. Uh, um, so, I mean, for the people that are watching, for like the 3 people out there that are watching that don't know who Preston Kincaid is, can you tell the audience where you are located? Where do you inspect?
Oh man, I'm glad you asked that question because as you know, if you know, you know, there's a lot of people that accuse me of being bought off by the builders. All right. Where I live is in the middle of the forest, the middle of nowhere. I am in upstate New York, Oxford, New York. I literally live in a town called Preston. So I'm Preston from Preston.
Wait, what came first, the chicken or the egg here? I got to know. Did they name the town after you?
No, it's kind of,
Been there that long.
I
Yeah.
bought my farm and I thought that it was serendipitous. The road right in front's called Preston Center Road. I didn't realize there was actually a town called Preston because the house was listed in Oxford, New York. So here I am out in the middle of nowhere. Where I live, dude, it is farmers, it is down home people. There is not a single building development within a 2-hour radius of me. None. I've never met a builder. I've never done a new build inspection. Not one. Not one. So like that's where I'm at. I'm smack between Syracuse and Binghamton, New York. Not I'm a few hours, 3 hours from Albany, but I'm up here in the forest, man. I'm in the woods.
That's funny because like I get so many people that get mad, like angry at builders in my content, but like only about half of my videos are on new construction. But I think a lot of online home inspection, social media videos are new construction. It's really easy to film at a new construction house. I think we see a whole lot of videos made on new construction, and people are just like so livid about all the new construction going on. They think every video they see is on new construction.
Right.
And they're like, "How are the builders getting away with this?" And I'm like, "Hey, this is clearly a homeowner DIY job. Like, what are you talking about?"
Right. Yeah,
Anyway,
same here.
I did have a question for you, and really, I wanted to, I wrote it down here, but it's basically I just wanted to know, like, do you have you because we were talking about younger inspectors, right, newer inspectors. If you had, and I know that you probably get this question a lot, but it sounds like you've put some thought into it. So, what is a piece of advice that you would give for up and coming home inspectors? And I'm going to say this, I'm going to get more specific with it. Up and coming home inspectors in your area, and maybe not your immediate area because like you're out in the middle of the woods in Preston, New York. But I mean, like maybe in your state or something. Do you have any advice for people coming into the industry? And I mean, besides watch the Ride Along podcast. Besides that,
That's a good one.
Yeah, man. You know, I have a lot of respect for Brad. Brad, you're like Trey, man. You're consistent too. I love the fact like your production is unlike, man, you do a good job. All right, to answer your question, Matt, when I do my webinars, I always start them off the same way. I've had webinars that had upwards of 600 attendees before. And what I will do is I will ask in my webinar, raise your hand if you're a home inspector. And everybody raises their hand. And it's a trick question because the first thing I say is, all of you are wrong. If you have your hand up right now, you are completely wrong. There is not a single home inspector in the home inspection business. And if you are just a home inspector, you are only doing half your job. We are all professional consultants. And we need to start thinking of ourselves that way because when you think of yourself as a professional consultant, you realize then the inspection is just part of your job.
right?
The part where you consult with your clients, you look out for their best interest, you make recommendations, you offer to help. I have 4 videos of me helping clients of mine for free re-level entire buildings. Like, so I do that because I'm a professional consultant and I'm trying to help these people as much as I possibly can. And if I can go help them with some of this stuff that would normally cost tens of thousands of dollars and they can borrow some of my tools and we can go do it on a weekend, I've now just made a friend for life, but I also have people that trust me, right? So it's really fulfilling a higher purpose, not just looking at a house with a flashlight and a camera, right? So these guys that are running in, writing reports, running to the next one and not spending the time with their clients, they're home inspectors. I'm a professional consultant and I'm going to conduct myself as one, right? And that's my advice because guess who's going to be replaced by AI when it comes along? The home inspectors.
We got
The
a whole
top,
episode on that.
We have a whole
the
episode
top
on it.
tier consultants won't be replaced anytime soon because they're providing a much higher level of service that's really helping people through the process, sometimes well after they buy the home.
That's an interesting perspective. I like that. I mean, I definitely operate that way, but I'm not sure if I've ever like really thought about it that way. But I definitely operate that way.
Well, guys, the dog is telling me here that it's time to take him on a little walk out the door there, if you will. Preston, thanks so much for coming on, dude. This
Hey,
has
we
been an
haven't
absolute
even
blast.
mentioned inspection fuel. Are you going to be at inspection fuel? Preston, are
Uh,
you going to be at?
I would like to go. So, yeah,
I will work that out with you off
yeah,
air.
shoot me over the
Absolutely, yeah.
details. Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah, actually, no, seriously. Like, hey, look, if you've been on the show, I've got a standing order that basically all of the previous guests will hook up with. We'll cover the fare, or not the fare, not the airfare, but the fee for the ticket
Entrance
to
fee.
Inspector Fuel. Yeah, the entrance fee. So if you want to come, we got you covered, dude.
Yeah,
Um,
man. Hey,
I'll help
count
you out
me
with that.
in. Just shoot me over the details when it is. Matt, you're going to be there, right?
I'm going to be there. Yeah.
Well, the
I won't miss it for the
details.
world then.
Yeah, details for everyone watching September 8th through the 10th. Thanks for the plug, Matt.
New
September 8th
Orleans.
through the 10th down in NOLA. That's it. But Matt, we've got I want to go ahead and tease this real quick because this is a fun episode. And again, Preston, always fun sitting on with you. We need to come on your show, by the way.
That's right.
Hey, man, let me plug something real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
May 18th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I got a webinar going on. It's free. You can go to hijumpstart.com, and it's the whole webinar is about how to become a home inspector. I've already brought in 107 people into the business this year.
That's awesome, dude. Good for you, man.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Good for you.
So attend the webinar if you have any interest in becoming a home inspector. We're going to go through everything. I will answer any question thrown at me.
And keep watching the show here because there's some really cool stuff. I am flying out to Austin, Texas this Friday. Actually, this will be happening after, I guess the show is going to drop and this will have already happened. But post-production will be well underway for what we're going to be filming in Austin, Texas. We're going to be working with Matt Reisinger. One of the biggest names in freaking building science. I mean, massive following over on his YouTube platform. But Matt, tell them a little bit about the house that we're going to be looking at.
So he has been filming for the last maybe 6 months or so, maybe longer than that actually. Him building a house out in the northern Austin area that he calls the Reisinger build. There is a ton of footage out there of him building this house from the ground up, and it's about finished. I mean, it is finished. There's maybe a couple of like small things that still need to get done on it, but finished enough. And we're going to go out there and do some filming at the Reisinger build. And if the stars align, we hope to do a little bit of podcasting with Matt himself. So
listen, I'll get you guys out here because this summer we're going to build 4 homes and I'm going to go all old school, stack stone foundation, post and beam construction, peg joinery, the whole bit.
Dude, Preston, I will freaking be there, man. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
So I'm milling all my own lumber on my sawmill. So we're going to build 4 homes. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to do a bunch of content on it.
But this is why it's so cool. So originally when this show started out, it was designed as a road trip where I shadowed home inspectors in the field, showcasing really cool, different types of houses around the country. And so this is kind of like because I mean, Matt, it's awesome. It's more fun to do this. 2 is better than 1. So we've got the co-host locked down. This is awesome. And now we get to really kind of like do the first, we're going back to this a little bit where we get to do cool series style content on site, long form on YouTube right here. We're breaking out all the bells and whistles and showcasing really cool homes. So Preston, it would be awesome to do the same with you as soon as you're underway back up there in New York.
Yeah, man. Hey, fist bump to both you guys.
That's it. I got to look where my camera is. Which one am I bumping here? That's it. All right. Love it. Preston,
thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely.
I respect you guys. Mad respect.
Definitely. And thank you guys, everybody, so much for watching. Great as always having you on here. Be sure to follow Preston, Matt, and the show here. And if you want to follow me, you can't do. It's at Inspection Dude. Why not? I'll jump in on it. But definitely stay tuned, and we will always see you right here next time on
the Ride Along.
You Got It.